Hey out there, slotcar land. How's everybody doing this fine weekend? Hope everybody's doing well. I hope you're dealing with this whole COVID thing the best you can. I really don't like what's going on with this. The whole Walmart thing that was announced that they started today, I think is just pure stupidity. But I'm not even going to go there. But I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're staying safe. Hope you're staying healthy. And I hope you're working on your slot cars. And even though we can't race with anybody, that you're, getting everything done and everything. So today I thought we would go back and revisit Magnatraction. We haven't done a lot with a Magnatraction car. I've got a ton of Magnatraction parts. That's probably the out of all the cars that we race and that we have, that's probably the one that I have the most parts for is a Magnatraction car. I mean, I've got chassis up to yin yang. I got motor plates. I got all kinds of stuff. So today we're going to go take a look at this and find out how to make your car faster. Some things you can do, not necessarily parts-wise, but we're going to be throwing some parts at this car, but that you can do with just tuning and all that kind of stuff. So we're gonna take a look at that. I deliberately found a car that doesn't really have a good baseline number, and I'm going to see what we can do with it. So first thing you want to do is find a good chassis. So this is the car we're going to do. This is one of the Magnatraction cars that I bought from my wife's tattooist. So we're going to take a look at this car. And the first thing you want to do is take a look and make sure your car is relatively flat. So you need a leveling of some sort. Either you got a tech block that you can flip it over that's got a hole on the other side all the way through that you can use as a leveling pad. Or you've got a leveling pad. I know they make a leveling pad just separate, or you got one of those. So you can make sure your chassis is completely flat all the way around. This will also show you how much spring tension you have on your car. If you don't have a spring tensioner measurer, which is something I want to get in, you can see this car's got some, you can see that bounce up and down on there. This has got some really, really tight springs, so we're going to have to take a look at that as well. This is my race car. And as you can see, it has like absolutely no spring tension. The wheels are right down on the ground. It's not bouncing up at all or anything. So I've got this car dialed in. This car is really, really dialed. So we're going to start taking a look at that. And that's what you want to check first. You want to make sure you've got a really good flat chassis to a start. If your chassis is tweaked, if it's bent from side to side, if you got it completely flat with the shoe tensions and you've got a wheel off the ground and the car rocks back and forth, your chassis is twisted. And you're never going to get that chassis to run really, really well because it's always going to be dealing with that problem. It's always going to be tricycling. It's going to be two-wheeling it all the time. So you want a completely flat chassis to begin with. So another thing that I like on my Magnatraction cars is I like completely flat pickup shoes. I don't like the step shoes. I don't like the short step at all. I don't like them shoes on a Magnatraction car. I like completely flat shoes. You can get a better contact with the rail, and if you got them adjusted right, they work great. So that's something else that we're gonna take a look at is make sure these shoes are running completely flat, that they're making good contact with the rail, and all of that stuff. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get a baseline number on this chassis on the dyno. And this is also kind of going to be an episode on how to use, if you got a dyno, how to use it. Because it can tell you whether you're making improvements or whether you're going the wrong way with the car. So if you get a baseline number, you do something to the car, you come back, that number goes up, you're doing something right. If you get a baseline number and you do something and you go back and the number goes down, you've gone the wrong direction. So let's get the camera down here in front of the dyno. And I've kind of already warmed this car up a little bit, so we shouldn't take too long to get a flat line number on this car. So let's get this down here, and we'll get it on the dyno here, and we'll get a look at what this thing's turning right off the bat. It might take a second to warm back up again. Give it a little oil. She sounds kind of dry. I went through these cars when I first got them, and there we go. and kind of did a little bit of cleaning and stuff, but I didn't do any, you know, really hard tuning on any of these cars. So I deliberately picked a car that's turning a low number. Most of my other cars are up over 2 on the dyno, so I wanted something that we could work with, that we could get an improvement out of. So it looks like 178. Car's got a lot of bounce, but those shoes on the front, if you look at the front of this car, let me see if we can get a close-up shot. If you can see how much those are bouncing around, how much that chassis is moving up and down on the front of that car. Tires we have on this car are the last set of silicone tires that I got from slotcarracing.com, and they're kind of sticky that way. I think 1.78 is about all we're going to get out of it, and it's in the form that it is right now. So let's get this off the dyno. Got my old trusty Vonco motor part holder here for pancake arms. So let's check and take a look at, see how our shoes are on this car. It looks like it's riding right on the tip of it. So we're going to need to get some tension into these shoes and get them so they're running on the rail. So we've got this brush. So we're going to use a wire brush. This is going to be for something we're going to work on in a little bit later. And then we've got our plastic one that we use for cleaning stuff. And then this is my new Dremel. As you guys have probably seen this on the bench before, this is our new grinder. We're going to be using this today as well. Got this from Harbor Freight. It works really, really good. Really neat thing to have. It's got the extension on it for working on things and all that good stuff. So we're going to, first thing we're going to do here is we're going to clean these shoes a little bit. These are pretty good shoes. There's not any grooves or anything worn in them, so they're really, really good. This has got a really old hard front tire on it. Okay, so that's a lot better. As you can see, that cleaned them up pretty good. So turn this off. That over there. Now, let's see if we can't get a little bit better contact. Basically, all you're wanting to do is just bend your shoe a little bit towards the back of the shoe. This will also help with your tension a little bit as well. So we're going to be fighting these tires a little bit. Then take it, put it back on your test track. Take a look again. See how much contact you're getting. This will also, as you can see now, it's not pushing up on that chassis at all again as well. So you've helped your shoe tension immensely, along with making a better contact on the rail. I don't know if you guys can see underneath that chassis, but you can see how it's making contact with the rail on both sides. As you can see, we're still kind of down on number there. Now we're getting a little higher, 176. So we're getting back up to where it was. But this is more about contact with the rail. This won't show up on the dyno. But as you can also see, it's a little calmer there in the front than what it was before. So you've actually, by doing that, by making a better tension, by making a better contact, and loosening up that tension on your pickup shoes, it's calmed the front end of this chassis down a lot more than what it was before. So that helps out immensely. First thing we're going to do here is we're going to take this off. We need to take a look at these motor brushes anyways and see what these motor brushes look like. Take a look at this armature, see what this armature looks like. And then we're going to take a look at, there it is, we're going to take a look at the motor magnets in this car as well. So another thing we're going to do is I'm going to clean the armature. We're going to take a look at that, see what that looks like. These motor brushes look fairly decent. We just need to kind of clean them up a little bit here and whatnot. So let me, I'm going to clean this arm and I'm going to get it all nice and clean. I don't have a polisher. I use, this might piss some people off and they say, "We'll never do that," but I use this to clean my armature. I need to get a polisher for them. That's something I need to, that I need to pick up. So let me get this clean and I'll be back. Alright, now that that's done, something else you want to check on your Magnatraction cars, and on any pancake arm for that matter, is how loose it is on the motor plate. How much rock back and forth you got. How much play up and down you've got. As you can see, this motor is not too bad, and it spins pretty good. But this is fairly decent. It's not too bad. The way you can fix this and make it so it's a little better is you can take your gear press this gear down a little more, which we might do here in a little bit to get it so it's not so rocking back and forth. But this one's not too bad. The other thing you want to check after you get your armature clean is to make sure there's no groove in the Commentator plate, which on this car there isn't. You don't see, as a matter of fact, there is no scratching or anything on there. It could probably use a good polishing, but this is a pretty good arm. So, where am I? I thought my tweezers were out. Guess I might have to use these. I don't see. My son's been working on stuff in here and he's messed things around and I don't know what he did with my tweezers. So, these motor brushes look really good. If we do a couple of things here and you don't really get a good thing with the motor brushes you have, something you can do is change your motor brushes, and that might make an improvement. Something else you want to look at is the tops of them. Make sure they're not chipped or anything around the edges of the motor brush, which these look pretty good. Yeah, these look really good actually, so I don't think we need to do anything with these. Something else you might want to do, which we'll probably do here in a second too, and I'll show you guys another little trick. So let's get, oh, there's one spring. That spring doesn't want to come out of there. There we go. There we go. Okay. So now, let's clean the inside of this car real quick. I've shown you guys how to maintenance your Magnatraction cars in the past. So this is something you can refer to in that video. And since I have a squeeze top on this bottle, I use a little cap that I have here to put the rubbing alcohol in that I use to clean my cars. There we go. Okay. Something else you may want to check is your rear axle. Want to make sure there's not a lot of play this way or this way. Making sure the chassis is not worn out. Side to side with the motor off, you may have a lot. You want to check that side to side with the motor in it and then see how much play you have in it. You may have to replace your gear on your axle here. It may be worn out at the end that's up against the chassis. It may have worn off through the years, and it's getting you a lot of slop. Next thing you want to check is you want to check your magnets in the chassis, and this one is actually pretty bad. You can see how easy that front magnet wants to come out, which means it's also rocking back and forth, as you can see inside the holder really hard. And this back one is also pretty much, you can see how much play you've got in that from side to side, back and forth play. Look at how much that's in there. That affects the car because when it not as much on the racetrack, but it also causes those magnets to be further away from your armature, which is something you don't really want. You want your motor magnets as close to that armature as possible, and you don't want them moving around as much as possible. If you can see when you put it on the racetrack. Let's get it down here lower so you guys can see. You can see you still get a lot of movement. See if I can get this to work so you guys can see it. Even when it's kicking the rail, you still got a lot of movement with those magnets in and out. And with the motor in there, it'll help it because they're being drawn to it a little more. But you're still losing a lot of power with these magnets being this way. So something you want to do, that's something you want to check on your car. You can fix that problem, and I'll show you guys. Okay, so where are we at here? Let me take a look at the time. 23 minutes. Well, let's see what we can edit here. We may have to make this more than one episode. But what you need is some masking tape. And I'll show you guys how to do this. Take your magnet. You're going to need a pair of scissors. Cut you off a piece of masking tape and apply it, the sticky side, to the back of your magnet. And then trim it. Doesn't have to be perfect, just so long as you're not getting any of it past your motor magnet. And then take it and put it in and test it. And as you can see, we still got a lot of play. So get you another piece. Get you another piece. And just apply it to the back of that piece. Trim it. And usually if you trim it right, you can keep using the trimmed off pieces that you have to work with. Usually it only takes about two pieces of tape. And this one's really bad. So let's apply a third. So you can see the red one just pulled right out. Alright, so that one took 3 pieces. So, and then just repeat that procedure with your back one. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll see. We'll put this back together. We'll see what we got. Alright, so that's done. As you can see, those aren't going to fall out of there. So, now let's put it back together. Alright, so now, as you guys know, so far we've cleaned it, and we've shimmed the motor magnets. Now, if you guys remember, our baseline was 178. So, now, let's see where this chassis is at now. With what we've done so far. Alright, what is your issue? Why aren't we getting anything? These stupid front tires. Looks like the motor brushes are in. Alright guys, well, I'm going to go off camera and I'm going to see what's going on here, so I'll be back. Alright, we're back. So, what looked like what was happening was the motor brush wasn't making connection to the armature. So I went in, took everything out, took the motor back off, took the motor brushes and the motor brush springs back out, and then I pushed in the tabs here that hold the springs and the motor brushes and pushed them in a little bit and came back out. And I've added a little oil around the axles and everything. So let's take a look now that we got that done. Let's take a look at our baseline now. Now I remember, we were at 178 with the way it was. So now, I've oiled everything. I oiled the motor, I oiled the top gears, and I oiled the axles on the back. So let's see where we're at now. And look at that. That is just by doing a little bit of cleaning and shimming, not even changing the motor magnets. Same motor magnets that were in it. We just shimmed them and got them to where they weren't bouncing around a lot. And look at the jump we got. We're up from 178 to up to 245 by the looks of it on the dyno. Simply by shimming your motor magnet. So that is amazing. That is just one little trick that you can do to make it by shimming it. We're now at 240, looks like 246 on the dyno simply by shimming the motor magnets. So that is just amazing. And that's just one little trick. That is just one tiny little trick you can do to make the car even better. And we're not even done. We're not even done with that, but we're up over pretty much here. We've got quite a bit here, so we're like over 30 minutes on the GoPro, so I'm going to edit this. So this is going to be part 1 of making your Magnatraction car faster. The next time we come back to this, we're going to be doing some other things to it. We're going to be throwing changing one part on top of the motor plate, and we're going to see what that does. And then we're going to go from there. So this is where we're at today. We've gone from 178 baseline to a 246 by simply shimming your motor magnets. So start looking at your motor magnets on your Magnatraction cars. This also works with your non-mag cars, and would probably work with your Auto World and your Johnny Lightning Magnatraction and X-Traction, or X-Traction and your Ultra G X-Traction. So start looking at that. So when we come back to this, we're going to be doing a little more tuning and tweaking. We're gonna change one part on the top of the motor plate next time, and we'll see what that does. So we'll come at you guys next time. Next week, we're going to have a bi-weekly feature car. And then a week after that, we'll probably be back doing this. I still got some tire truing to do on the Super 2. So I'm going to try and get that done so we can get back to it after the next episode in the Magnatraction. So keep on watching. I hope this guys helps you guys out a lot. And I hope it just keep you guys in the hobby and everything. So start looking at your cars. Get yourself a dyno. So you guys know where your baselines are. It's really hard to do it with track time on the track with lap time because not every lap is consistent. You're not going to be consistent every single lap. So, you know, it's really hard to tell. But with a dyno, it's strictly the car. So you're getting a true you're getting a true number of where your car's at on the dyno compared to just running it on the track in lap time. So this is where the dyno comes in handy, and I hope you guys realize that this is what you use the dyno for, is to see where your chassis is at. You do a tweak, you put it back on there, you see where you're at, and that's how it works. So have a great week. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope you're working on your cars, having a little fun there, as much fun as you can with the hobby right now, and we'll get back to racing real soon. I'm having withdrawals myself. And all that good stuff. So have a great week. I'm out. I'll catch you guys later. Keep the pin in the slot. Keep them wheels on the downside. Keep racing slot cars. And we'll catch you in the next episode. I'm out. Bye.